I'm sure you're familiar with, but do you check out like the Scott's bass lessons?
Yeah, I've seen his stuff. I've seen a good bit of Scott's stuff.
Yeah. He and he's his platform has grown crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it grew a lot during the quarantine also.
Okay.
The pandemic or whatever. And he had on he did a special, I guess, package or whatever with Gary Willis.
Yeah.
I interviewed Gary. That was a very very interesting thought-provoking conversation we had. A super good dude, very generous and everything. I was asking him some questions about because his whole thing is about minimalism, right? So he's trying to like move and use the least amount of pressure as possible.
Okay.
And I kind of came from like I was playing too hard, like, and I started having some issues with my hands. My hands were falling asleep and stuff. And I was concerned. I was like, do I have carpal tunnel? What's going on? Thankfully I don't have carpal tunnel, and I didn't have carpal tunnel.
Okay.
But it was a combination of things. It was so your nerves, they don't get longer. If you get bigger, your nerves stay the same size.
Okay.
And so what happens is, especially around your shoulders, you can be pinching your nerves, and then it'll make your hands go to sleep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so part of it had to do with being more relaxed when I was playing, and trying to keep my shoulders down. And then the other part was honestly, I reduced the string tension. I started playing on lighter tension stuff.
Okay.
I did that for a while. I play guitar also. I was playing on really heavy stuff initially because I played bass first. And then when I started playing guitar, I was trying to as far as how thick and how much tension were on the strings, I was trying to emulate certain things from the bass. And so I started playing on stuff like I was playing on like, oh goodness, 11s and 12s and like that.
Wow.
But and I was playing on those on like, I'd be playing on a Strat.
Oh wow.
But I'd have like 11s or 12s like that. And so I was like, okay, what can I do to try to reduce? Because I found out that Alan Holdsworth and Frank Gambale, I interviewed Frank also, they both played on 9s. And I was like, oh snap. Okay, if these cats are playing on 9s, let me see if I can get myself down to 9s. So then I stepped down to 9s. I mean, I had to do it sequentially. And then I started doing the same thing on bass. And then I stopped having as many issues with my hands. Yeah. But so I was interested in him, talking to Gary about that, because I knew his minimalist kind of approach to it. Yeah. Do you have any particular like philosophy on I don't know, hand positioning or your technique or playing relaxed? Or
I definitely use a lighter gauge string. I can see the difference. When I first started my first bass, I talked about this a while ago. My first bass I bought was like a Fender Jazz Mexican. It's like a deluxe. And I had one of those, and it, heavier strings. And one of the things I didn't like about that bass, not that it was the bass's fault, but I felt like I had to work really, really hard. And coming from playing guitar, going back and forth to bass, that's a big stretch. And it was not comfortable for me. And I think I eventually bought a Warwick I bought a Warwick thumb bass. If you ever play one of those basses, the neck is pretty small on that bass, and it's pretty comfortable to play. It's not a huge bass. The neck is pretty small, and it's really comfortable to get it's a thick neck, but it's small. So it's comfortable to get your hands around. So that made me very comfortable. I noticed when I went down in my string gauge, I started playing a lot more comfortable and a lot more relaxed. Normally, I kind of tilt the neck of my bass when I'm standing. When I'm sitting, most of the time, I'm playing like this. But when I stand, as you can probably see in my logo, my bass is kind of up like that. And I find that my arms are really relaxed when I'm playing like this. When everything is kind of sitting right, I'm very, very relaxed. There's not a lot of pulling happening here. It's not a lot of pulling happening here. So when I'm standing, I'm pretty relaxed when I'm playing, and I can, whether I'm thumping or whether I'm, just going finger style, my hands are pretty relaxed. And again, I use a lighter gauge string. I kind of got into the ramps years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And honestly, when I first got into it, I just thought it was a cool look. I was like, I just like the look.
It is
of
a
the
cool
ramp.
look.
Yeah, when I saw it at first, I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. That was around the time that Matt Garrison he's still tearing it up, but that's around the time. Matt Garrison, you had Richard Bona, you had all these guys. Of course, Gary Willis, of course, being one of the inventors of that, and so many others like Hadrian Farad and so many others. Hadrian Farad. I don't want to say it wrong.
Farad.
Okay. So many different players were using the ramp. And I'm like, man, that looks cool. And so let me try it out. And I found out, and then I think I watched a video with Gary explaining the science behind it. I'm like, okay, I get it now. And I noticed the more I lighten up on my touch in my right hand, the faster I could play. And the more comfortable it felt. I felt like I wasn't digging in, working as hard. And I was really working out, because at that time I was kind of working through the Matt Garrison 4-finger technique on my right hand. I kind of got comfortable with it. And then I eventually went back, to the 2 fingers, because it wasn't, I didn't really use it enough for the type of music I was playing. So I was like, I kind of went back to the 2 fingers. But I was experimenting, trying all of this different stuff. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, to answer your question, I experimented with a lot of different things concerning technique to finally land kind of where I play now. Again, when I'm sitting, when my arm is like just in a relaxed position, see, I got a bass here. Like when I'm just in a relaxed position, I'm normally kind of playing like this, and I'm really relaxed. My arm look like it's really straining or bent, but it's not. For me, it's like it's just really relaxed, because I don't have this thing here happening like a lot of guys. I don't have that happening. It's just, I'm a lanky dude, so that it's a really relaxed position for me. But again, when I stand, I'm more than likely I'm playing like this, and my arms are a little bit more straightened. It's kind of hard to show it now without the strap on, but yeah, it's a pretty comfortable. You can see that right hand, and sometimes I'll even lift out my arm a little bit or angle the bass just to get a little bit more straightened wrist. It's something I think Sheree Reed had started talking about years ago, that he was kind of really working on getting better technique and trying to look into the longevity. And I think that's what really made me, because I heard cats talk about it, but I was kind of a fan of Sheree's at the time. So when he mentioned that, it's like one of those things like, oh, okay, like not cause Sheree doing it, I'm gonna do it. It's like I maybe need to pay a little bit more attention to this thing if I'm going to be playing long term. And I was noticing after, I played at a pretty, one of the largest churches in Atlanta for a while. And we would do these intense services and all this kind of stuff. Or if I'm on the road with somebody and we're playing an intense set, my hands would start to get tired, or all that kind of stuff. And so I had to figure out something that was more comfortable, so that I could, play a long set and still have my endurance all the way throughout the duration of the set.